Hey, it's Daryl again. I'm going to talk about some infrastructure projects that I think are important. So, the idea is to have more railways in New Zealand. We have some passenger services. Auckland's got metro trains, like overground metro trains. They're building in a city railway loop, an underground loop that takes the outer lines, brings it into a circle. That's a good thing in the middle that will go around the middle of the CBD. In Wellington, there's four metro lines that come into the middle. There's a big station. It's got 8 platforms, something like that. There's a hilly line. There's a line that comes up to my suburb and a little bit further, the coastal line, and there's a line that goes up the valley, and there's another line which is another line that's in the valley, and these are served by electric trains in Auckland and in Wellington. Auckland used to be diesel trains, but they upgraded it to electric trains. I don't know how long ago, 10 years ago, quite a while now. They've replaced all the trains in the last 10 years with newer trains. I suppose when they got those Auckland trains, they bought more trains. The Auckland trains run on a different voltage than the Wellington trains. The Wellington trains got a historical 1600 volt DC system. I think the Auckland system's a more modern 25 kilovolt AC system. I've been to other countries. I've been all around Europe on trains. You can have dual and triple mode trains. So I've been across. You can get a train. I think it goes from England across the Channel Tunnel into France or Belgium. Some other countries, and they have tri-mode trains that have 3 different voltages on AC and DC and 2 AC voltages. So you can build multi-mode trains. You can also build hybrid trains. So they're looking at now, so diesel electric. Actually, most trains are actually hybrid trains. The diesel engines powering a generator, and the generator powering the train. That's called a DX locomotive. I think that's what that's called. And so hybrid trains are normal already, but now they're going to have battery hybrid trains. So there's actually a proposal that's come through in New Zealand, and they're going to try and see if they can get battery diesel hybrid electric trains. So what's the importance of that? Well, in Auckland and Wellington, there's electric overheads, but when you get out of the cities, out of the metro area of the overhead wires, then you're just where diesel trains go. And so if they have battery hybrid and diesel battery electric hybrid trains, the trains will be able to run on the electric network when they're in the city, and when they're going out to regional towns and cities, they'll be able to run in electric mode on batteries, or on I'm going to call it DX mode, like diesel to electric. Out in the countryside, maybe they can put in overheads. They could probably, if you're going to do this lot, you could put in bits of overhead wire in the middle of the city, or at stations where the trains can charge while they're in the station or going slowly. So you could have it recharge while sitting in the station. I don't know if they're going to do that. I just think that you can. And then what you can also do is you can build the electric overheads in those other towns and cities, and as you extend the network out, you can have the train work more and more on batteries or directly from the overhead, and less on diesel. Okay, now I'm going to show you the proposal. So this actual proposal. So we'll have some route maps and some explanations of the trains. So I'll jump down to the explanation of the trains, right? So here's a diagram of a train. So you have these. This is kind of like a on network, off network electric train. I guess you could put it that way. So the engines are going to have. And now it says CI engine. Okay, now they're calling this compression ignition engine. To me, that just means diesel. I think that's what it is. I don't know why they just don't say diesel engine. Are they ashamed? They're ashamed and they're mortified that they have to say that it has to have a diesel engine. Whatever, I don't care. So this one has 1600 volt equipment. So this will be a Wellington train. Wellington trains are going to have the 1600 volt DC. and they have battery packs under the middle carriages. So when you go off the overhead wires, you'll be able to run on battery. When the battery goes flat, you'll be able to use the diesel engine, which is the black in the diagram, to power the system. Okay, the routes that they're looking at using these trains on are Wellington to Upper Hutt to Featherston to Masterton. So Wellington to Upper Hutt, I think that's about 40 kilometres, and then Wellington to Masterton, it's the net of about near 100 kilometres, about 80 kilometres. It's the other 40 or 50 kilometres. Featherston is on the other side of a hill, so there's actually a mountain between Upper Hutt and Featherston. There's a tunnel, so that's good. It's good to be able to have things running on batteries in tunnels. I don't know, that's just what I think. So they can probably go off the network at Upper Hutt. So Wellington to Upper Hutt is all following a fairly flat river. It's a river floor valley river. So it's a gradual uphill all the way from Wellington to Upper Hutt. And then it gets steeper as you go into the mountains, and you go under the mountain to Featherston. Featherston's the first town just directly on the other side of the mountain. And then it's flat from Featherston to Masterton. You're on the next valley plain on the other side of the mountains. So that's what that route is like. And then up the coastal route, which I explained earlier, from Wellington, you can go through the suburbs of Paikākāriki, Paraparaumu, and then Waikanae. And then from Waikanae, that's where the electric wires finish. But it's pretty flat all the way up the coast to Palmerston North. That's sort of flatlands. And so you better run it partially on battery electric and then on diesel when the battery goes flat. And so that's the idea of that system. I think that's a great idea. I think here's some route diagrams here. So there you have it. You've got the electric part up to Waikanae and up to Upper Hutt, and then you've got the other part there, and then the other part here. Now, the interesting thing in New Zealand is that the middle part of our main railway network up the country is electric in the centre. I think this is all 25,000 volts, just from memory. So AC voltage. And the reason why this middle part is all electric is because they worked out, I think it was in the 1980s, they electrified it. They just worked out that it was cheaper. Electric trains are just cheaper. There's a lot of industries through here. There's big forestry and dairy areas, and there's factories and things, wood products and timber products, and a lot of that can be shipped. It can be moved on trains. So this part here would be the passenger route, this purple part. So that's from South Auckland. So Pukekohe is the bottom of South Auckland. So there's electric trains in the Auckland central city. And then when you get, so there's about 1.5 million people live in this area around Auckland. And then Hamilton's another big city. I think that's maybe 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people. And you've got Tauranga, which has another, I don't know, quite a lot of thousands of people, many tens of thousands. That's another big city. So there's a big population growth in this, out of Auckland, this whole northern part of the North Island. And here, as Auckland's got really full, the population has overflowed out of Auckland into this Waikato and Bay of Plenty area. The population on all of these areas is increasing. Over here, it's very foresty and rural down to, there's Rotoruas in here and Taupos in here. But while a lot of people do travel to those areas, huge population growth is in Tauranga. So there's I don't know, they call this sort of like a triangle or something, that the railway lines down here, it's a long journey. It's sort of 90 minutes by train down there. I'm not quite sure. I'm just roughly guessing it. And then across there, it's probably another hour or something like that. So it's quite a big journey, that journey. And so they have this this project. So I'll just go back and look through the things. So this is by the under here. See Greater Auckland Council. They proposed this. So what does it say? A story a few weeks ago highlighted that the lower North Island councils are frustrated that the government did not provide funding in the budget for new regional trains. The Transport Minister has left the door open for 22 new electric trains, but after lower North Island mayors kicked up a stink that they weren't funded in this year's budget, so they were gonna provide some funding for this in our country's budget, the annual budget, but they didn't do it. And what they wanted to do is have new trains. The new 4-car trains would replace vintage units and quadruple the peak time services between Palmerston North Wellington on the Manawatū line, while doubling them on the Masterton to Capital on the Wairarapa line. Now this would be good, because if we had these kinds of trains, there's only one train per day between Palmerston North and Wellington, like a commuter train in the morning and a commuter train back. But they're saying that the 4-car trains would replace vintage units and quadruple the peak time services. So they're looking at having four trains for the morning peak and 4 trains for the evening peak. Well, that would actually open the door to have hourly services continuously through the whole area. One of the things about, I suppose maybe I could bring it up on a map. Let's have a go on maps. Here we go. Here's a map. So if we look at this area, because Wellington is a confined area, you can see by this terrain. Oops, hang on. Have I got the map in a? There we go. Maybe put that there. I don't know. What am I seeing? Yeah, that will. Yeah, I think that works. You can see that the city is confined because it's all mountainous out here. These are all mountains. There's windmills and wind farms out there, and farms. And over here, it's mountains and national parks or regional parks. And so the all of the valley floor through here is all full of housing. It's all full of housing out here. They've got this new motorway out here. This is all mountains and parks. It's just mountains. You can't build anything in these areas. And so when we get up here on the coast, this Paraparaumu area has that's become a growing population centre, and these suburbs just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. So they extended the railway line. Maybe I can put this on a view for public transport. There we go. So here we can see the public transport lines. So here you can see where it says Great Journeys. That's the one that goes up to Manawatū. The electrification here, see these the Green Line. The Green Line stops here at Wakanai at the suburb. But they're building new motorways. The motorway almost all the way to here is almost complete, and that means that this area could have a big expansion of housing. And then again, there's been talk of building a suburb of this town, Levin. There's been talk of on this flat land here in the hills, all along here. They're looking at building a new suburb across here. The new motorway is going to come up through this bit of countryside to the east of Levin, but there's mountains over here. There we go, you can see those mountains now. They're looking at building more housing in this flat land here, or they could indeed build more housing over. This is where I would actually think that would be better to build a bit of housing over here on this flat sandy soil over on this side. There's good food growing croplands in here, which they certainly should not be building any housing on. And again, on the northern side of Levin, there's a lot of good growing croplands where we grow all our fruit and vegetables, or vegetables mainly. They shouldn't grow on that. And then Palmerston North is another medium-sized city, about 70, maybe 80,000 people, around that order of magnitude. There's population here, and so there's one train that goes from Palmerston North to Wellington each day for commuters, and one train that goes back. And so now they're looking at 4 trains in the morning and 4 trains in the evening. And then if you've got all those trains, you may as well run an hourly service in between. If you ran an hourly service on a train, it would replace a lot of the buses, and trains are just more efficient than buses. I mean, you might have a bus that goes around some of these areas hypothesizing there. I'm speculating a little bit. Again, here you have all of the land in this valley is full. That valley is completely full. But over here you have a huge valley of flat land where there's all these towns, Featherston and Greytown and Carterton are all established towns. But we could grow higher populations on those towns, and then with an hourly train service, and as the population grows, you'd bring it up to a half-hourly train service. Over here on this coast, what happened is that they put in the trains, and then the amount of people that live here has been increasing and increasing and increasing. So now we have half-hourly train services on the electric network between Waikanae and Wellington City all day, every day. Maybe they might go down to hourly later in the evening, or maybe sometimes in the weekends. But that's a plan to improve things. So they have this proposal, and all they need is for somebody to pay for it. The Horizons District Council, which is essentially the council in the countryside around Levin, I think Horizons is south of Palmerston North and north of Waikanae. That district council really wants this thing to increase, and I don't know, they've got cost-benefit ratios in there. There's quite a lot of the document. I didn't specifically want to read through the whole document. They've got some options here for things. There are different proposals for partial electrification. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If there's not enough people using it, it doesn't make economic sense to put in the lines. But then I've got other arguments for why you should electrify the lines. Because the whole part of the central North Island, as I was saying, like, if we look at this, see here's the line that goes from Wellington to Auckland. Between Hamilton and Palmerston North, it's electrified already. The only bit that's not electrified there in the north is the, I don't know, it must be about 80 kilometres or so between Hamilton and South Auckland. That's not electrified. And down here, the only part that's not electrified is the 80 kilometres between Palmerston North and Waikanae. The other 400 kilometres in the middle is electrified. Maybe it's 350 kilometres. I don't know the exact numbers. We've electrified a lot of it. We've got 70 kilometres or 60 kilometres out of Wellington electrified, and we have a lot electrified there. So just why not finish it? The idea of if we electrified it, you can run goods trains as well, right? You can get dual voltage engines that run on, calling it an engine. I don't know if that's the technical term. You can get dual voltage train engines that run on two different systems. You can get AC/DC systems, and so if we electrified the whole thing, then at least if we had diesel and oil or petrol shortages, we could run services. You can put any train carriages. There's lots of train carriages in New Zealand. There's old historical ones, but you can, and there's ones that are used for some of these commuting things, but you can tow them behind engines and use them for trains. If there's a real diesel shortage and we really were short of transport, you would want to move goods and services between Auckland and Wellington, and we could do that using electric trains all the way through. So you want to electrify the main trunk because it would be robust. It's something we make our electricity in New Zealand. Only about 15 or 12% of our electricity comes from coal or gas or oil. All the rest of it is geothermal and hydro and wind power. We have giant hydro lakes in the South Island. See down here? See these giant lakes? A lot of these are hydro lakes. Lake Tekapo's got a hydro dam on it. You can see here, that's where the water flows out. It runs into a canal system. The canal system runs into this thing. This is a hydro generation, part of the hydro generation scheme. That water goes into this dam. It goes out through these canals. It runs into hydro dams here, and hydro dam on Lake Benmore. And I'm annoyed that my phone is making a lot of noises, so I'll just throw that away. It's not supposed to make noises while I'm recording a video. yeah, so we have a lot of hydro dams. There's hydro dams down here. Manawatū, that's a hydro lake there. It's a giant hydro dam. The water comes out over here in the sound. So we have a lot of hydro generation in New Zealand, a lot of renewable energy. It would make sense for our trains to run on that renewable energy. Anyway, and that's just a thing. Maybe I'll put a link to this document in the description. But yeah, they even have idea of these multi-mode trains. There's even here, there's this, let's get this out of the way. Here we go. We've got this 1600 volt plus battery, plus a diesel engine, plus 25 kilovolt AC propulsion, multiple units. So there you go. There's options for these multi-mode trains. It's all here in a proposal. They've made a proposal. They've got all the costings in there. Yeah, that's good. I think that's probably all I want to say. I'll just scan through the rest of this document just in case it's unlinked. Oh yeah, and then you have comments, right? There's a lot of comments about this, and some of these comments are pretty smart. Of course, there's always going to be ones that are just contrarian and all of that. But it is interesting that people can say a lot about it. I saw some rude words in there. Apologize for that. Yeah, it's good to see what people's actual opinions are. A lot of people have good ideas. I'm always a person who just thinks like you need to build infrastructure. You having better infrastructure just makes your country more robust. It supports things that people want to do. It supports your business activities. It supports your tourist activities. I'm not a big fan of tourism. I always say that because tourism is just something that, in a lot of cases, people are just doing stuff because they can do it. It's not highly meaningful, a lot of tourism. Anyway, that's enough. My phone's really annoying me now, so I'm going to stop the video. Take care, have a nice day, and thanks for watching.